Hey everyone, welcome back to Mental Training Thursday. I hope that you are doing well. We all do. And today we are going to talk about Reflect for Refuge. Before we dive into that, we always have our question from the following week. But we also did want to make a plug because last week's topic was about courageous conversations playbooks for having challenging conversations, especially if you were home for the holiday break or for the soon to be upcoming break. And there are some resources about conflict coaching here at CU, more generally speaking. So of course you can always come check in with PHP. We'd be more than happy to work with you around those challenges. But there are additional resources through CU. So you can always email conflictresolution@colorado.edu. And they can help provide some conflict coaching sessions. And they also have virtual workshops that can be used for your roommates or for families. So that's something that we just want to make sure you were aware of and to let you know about that resource given our prior topic last week. So we're gonna have our question from last week to kick us off before we dive into Reflect for Refuge.
So our question from last week, I'm feeling like all these changes from 2020 are not going to magically go away in 2021, but some people are acting that way. Am I wrong for thinking this way?
So that's a great question because I think, right, like 2020 has been a year that none of us have ever lived through before, and hopefully we never will again. And so there are a lot of challenges about this year and a lot of uncertainties that have come up. And I think with those uncertainties, a lot of folks are looking at the end of this year and the start of a new year as a way to try and create some comfort maybe for themselves, as to say, okay, like this horrible, really stressful year is about to end. And it's a containment practice, right? They're trying to contain it within 2020. What we do know is that just because the calendar and the clock are going to change and the year is going to switch over to 2021, doesn't mean that it's a blank slate and everything goes, it's not like Cinderella and all of a sudden when the clock strikes, everything turns back to the way it was before, right? And so I think for some people, that mental approach of 2021 is going to be so much better might be their way of trying to give themselves encouragement to keep pushing through what it has been a very challenging time. So I would just say the lens that I'm taking is finding what works for you to help you navigate what continue to be really challenging and uncertain times. For some people, it might be, hey, 2021 is going to be better. I think we all certainly hope that that's the case. And maybe there are some people that think once 2021 hits, it is suddenly going to feel better. And if that's what is working for them at that time, then that's their strategy. So I would just encourage people to look towards what are the things that continue to help you find ways to cope with what has been really challenging, and ways that can help you also reflect on the good of it. So maybe those people that are thinking about 2021 as being a better year are trying to find something positive and good. And there are a lot of ways that you can do that now, even still within 2020.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mac. And I popped in my head as this like hashtag never again, never 2020 again, and I think for many reasons that that is really needed for some folks right now to kind of have that sense of hope or aspiration for some challenges to move on from. And I think you did a beautiful job of bringing in both and, which I know is such an important part of resilience. And, let's throw out a few metaphors here at the end, because this is our last one of this calendar year, but to return to two that have stood out, kind of this teeter-totter or seesaw approach to challenge. Both, we don't want to stay on the one side where we're just blindly positive and it's going to be all good January 1st. And then the other side, we don't want to just be ruminating in what's been so horrible. So finding that balance between both can be really important, which is part of one of our exercises today. And I know when we've talked about motivation, we brought in the idea of a campfire and how do we kind of get that initial spark? What can we use in terms of oxygen, little tinder to kind of keep it going? And I think no matter how much our fires have kind of waxed or waned over this past year, it's really important to look back. How have we fed that for ourselves? How have we fed what really matters most for us? And so let's jump right into it. So if you checked out the Mental Lift Monday, we're basically going to follow that, but through more of a guided practice. So for those of you who are doing this right now, as always, if you're comfortable, you can kind of close your eyes if that's helpful for you to kind of maybe kind of bring your attention into this activity, or you can just find a spot in front of you to center your gaze. And I'm going to invite all of us at the beginning of this to do something a little bit different, just to kind of let out any sound that comes out right now when you think of 2020. Just anything at all that you need to just kind of express. And right now, just setting an intention. What is your wish in this moment? I think it's a time in 2020 where that question of what am I really yearning for? Sometimes it's hard to find, but what is your wish? What are you yearning for in this moment? Just a little relief, relaxation, calm, peace, energy, whatever it might be, clarity. And as we've been doing all this fall, let's use the body as an anchor at the beginning, because as rocky as 2020 can be, we can always anchor ourselves back into this moment, come home into our body. So wherever that is for you, it could be the breath, it could be the contact with the chair, the floor, where you're grounded in. And we're just going to start with the R of reflect. I invite you all to really lean into your own goodness in this moment. Think of a time, it could be very recent, where you use one of your strengths to overcome a challenge and adversity in this fall, this past year. Just letting that sense of goodness wash over you, that moment, and how you approached it. Moving on to the E, really now bringing into your mind's eye the people and environments, the spaces that filled you up, that let you be you. And this could be all beings, people are here currently, people have passed on, pets, whoever it might be. Really feeling that connection, that support. Moving on to the F of reflect. What would those people really want for you, particularly in some difficult moments that you've had this year, challenges? What words of encouragement would they share with you, or have they shared with you? Just allowing some of that forgiveness in for difficult moments and stuck points. Using their words, their loving presence. The L of reflect, really letting go of the shame game. Letting go of the judgments we can have around the year that we thought it would be, the year that it came to be. And what do you want to let go of, not carry with you? What's not your burden, not your responsibility to take with you into the new calendar year? Just pairing this with the E, exhale. just breathing out. Breathing out any of those difficulties, any of those challenges you want to let go of. And then our last two letters of reflect, our little acronym, C is connecting with your values. So what do you want to continue to stand for? Because damn, it's been hard to stand tall, this past year at times. What do you really want to continue to stand for? Because you have been. What sort of person do you want to continue to be? How do you want to treat yourself and others? Could be a felt sense in your body, could be a word, a phrase, an image. And let's just take that to our last letter T, taking these values with you. What is that compass going to look like for you? Your values, whether it's in your sport, school, career, relationships, health. And you want to continue to move towards those things that matter for you. And I know this can be a much more lengthy practice if you want it. So just know you can come back to this. You can pause it at times when need be. Really just come back to and recenter. Reflect on what gives you refuge. What can you both let go of and take with you into this new year. And taking maybe a few more nourishing breaths. And if your eyes have been closed, you can open them when you're ready, and we'll jump back into our conversation.
That was great, Bob. I really, as you were going through that, was just reflecting on all of our time this semester doing mental training Thursdays and the different skills and strategies that we've been talking about and how they all kind of tie in to this practice that you led us through today. And was just thinking about that metaphor that we were stringing through pretty frequently, especially around motivation with the flint and the stone and fire. And I personally love a real fireplace, and I love creating the fire and then sitting back and enjoying it. And just think about how there's so much work and challenge that can go into things that we experience. Even like getting a fire going sometimes can be a real headache. And then once it's going, just sitting back and being like, man, look what I did. I get to enjoy this part of it. Yes, there were parts that were hard, but look at what I can enjoy and revel in now. And, there are some things that with a fire you can still predict, like, oh, I'm going to need to put another log on, or I'm going to need to rearrange them so that there's enough air and oxygen to keep it going. So that's true. Like there's still some thought that you want to put. And I think that was kind of connecting with your values and taking them with you for those like future progressions. And there's still that enjoyment of like, what can I sit with and hold right now that really grounds me and that I can appreciate and use to continue forward. So really a great end to Mental Training Thursday for this fall. We will be back in the spring. However, I personally will not be, except for guest appearance as a participant. But we wanted to make sure that all of you out there have a chance to engage with all of our fellow PHP colleagues. So I will be stepping out of a co-facilitator role with Mental Training Thursday. And one of our other PHP colleagues will be joining. So there will be variety and some novelty and new things to bring to the table. So that will be something that can be looked forward to for Mental Training Thursdays in the future. To end it off, as always, Bob will still be here. So if you have questions, you can send them to him at Robert.Deal, DIEHL at colorado.edu. And the ending quote for us today is actually something that we as PHP staff say to folks we work with, as well as to one another, which is, you are enough as you are, just as you are. And as an additional bonus quote in here, this is from Soren Kierkegaard: life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. So go forward with the life you're living, spend some time to reflect and get some refuge from it, and we will see you in the new year. Go Buffs.